Hey, what's going on, everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech. And today we have a super spicy deck, and we're going to be talking about 5-color dragons, a deck that I've been wanting to feature for quite some time, really since Tarkir Spoilers started. I've always wanted to build a deck around one specific card in this deck, and I'm really excited to talk about it today. But as always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this deck? Is there a specific dragon or another card I should have put in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. Okay. So the reason I really wanted to build this deck is because of one card in particular, and that is called the Spirit Dragons. A commander card, yes, but I think this card is just really, really cool, and I want to see if we can win the game with this card in Pioneer just off of the really nice beginning of upkeep trigger. I just think this card is just really, really cool. We put a 1/1 counter on a dragon you control of, for each color, but if we put 1/1 counters on 5 different dragons, we win the game, which is really cool. So I have sort of like our fair game plan, but I also have like our easy kind of quick killish combo. And to be able to play Call the Spirit Dragons, obviously it's a 5-mana enchantment. How are we actually going to cast this card? Well, we're going to use Leyline of the Guildpact and Storm the Festival to help our game plan. We're taking some tools from Mono Green Devotion, but they fit in this deck really well because Storm the Festival is going to be able to put any permanent in our deck into play, including the dragons, Leyline of the Guildpact, as well as Call the Spirit Dragons. Leyline of the Guildpact is nice because it's able to have all of our dragons be all colors, which is really important. It's going to help fix our mana base a little bit. We're going to be able to, all of our lands are going to tap for any color, which is going to be fantastic. So overall, I'm really, really excited to talk about this deck in general. It's going to be really, really fun. A lot of weird cards. The other thing I want to point out too is with Call the Spirit Dragons, I built it as if we don't need Leyline of the Guildpact in this deck, which we'll kind of talk about that in a moment when we get to the dragons. But before we get into the dragons, I want to talk about the mana dorks. It's a really, really simple, in terms of what we're playing. We're playing Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, and Sylvan Caryatid. We're mostly like at base mono green for the most part, in terms of like the other spells that we're playing. The dragons are not, though, spoiler alert. But Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, and Sylvan Caryatid, they're going to help us cast our Storm of the Festival ahead of schedule. Sylvan Caryatid is nice because it does tap for 1 mana of any color. It's got the hexproof, so our opponent's not able to disrupt it. Overall, just big fan of this entire package here. But let's go ahead and talk about the dragons. After all, that's why you actually clicked on this video, is the dragons. What dragons are we actually playing in this deck? We're playing quite a few spicy ones, honestly. And again, like I mentioned, we're not just playing a bunch of 4 of dragons and maybe accidentally winning with Call the Spirit Dragons. I want to be able to win the game with Leyline in play. So, the dragons that we're playing, and spoiler alert, also a lot of 1-ups, we're playing 1 copy of Atsushi the Blazing Sky, 1 copy of Galzeth Prismari, 1 copy of Nicol the Ravager. Again, I'm playing a bunch of different color ones. We have red, we've got our blue dragons, we have a black dragon here as well. We're also playing 1 copy of Scavenger Regent, 1 copy of Adult Gold Dragon, and 1 copy of Goldspan Dragon. We're also playing 1 copy of Hitotsugi and Kairi, sorry if I mispronounced that, 1 copy of Imrith Desert Doom, 3 copies of Bloomvine Regent just because it's a cultivate, it's a dragon. That's why I'm playing multiple copies of Bloomvine Regent. I think it's really good in this deck just in general. And then we are also playing 1 copy of Zurgo and Ojutai and 1 copy of Rith Liberated Primeval. So if you didn't see, all of our dragons, like we do play some monocolor dragons, but we have dragons that are multicolor, so that way they can potentially help. Like, okay, Rith, it can be our green dragon, or Zurgo is our white dragon, and then the Scavenger Regent is our black dragon, Nicol is our blue dragon, and that kind of thing. We want to play dragons of all different colors, and we're playing a lot of lands that are going to help us cast all these dragons, which I guess, since we're talking about that, we might as well hop into it. The lands, we're playing 24 lands in this deck, so this land base is going to look a little weird, to be honest with you. You're going to have to bear with me on this one. It's tricky because we are a 5-color deck, so our mana is not perfect. We don't have fetch lands. We do have shock lands, but we're going to take so much damage if all we do is just jam a whole bunch of shock lands. So I tried to build a mana base that will give us consistency in terms of, like, if we don't have Leyline in play, but I also want to have lands that tap for multiple colors, so that way we can obviously cast everything. If we don't have the Leyline in play, this mana base was tricky to build, as it should be. It's a 5-color mana base, but let's go and hop into it. So, we're playing 4 copies of Stomping Ground, two copies of Breeding Pool. Those are the only shock lands that we're actually playing in this deck. Stomping Ground is important just because our deck is mostly red and green. I'm playing 4 copies of Hushwood Verge just because it taps for green in its base. Obviously, like, you know, Control Forest or Plains, we're playing a lot of forests in this deck, so it's not going to be hard to be able to activate it for white, but I wanted to play it as an untapped way to make green mana in this deck. And that's why we're also playing the 2 copies of Wastewood Verge. It makes base green, which is very, very important for this deck. We're also playing 2 copies of Cavernous Souls and 2 copies of Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon. I love Cavernous Souls and Maelstrom just because they tap for 1 mana of any color for dragons. And Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon is nice because it also can tap for 1 mana of any color for an Omen spell. So for Bloomvine Regent's Cultivate spell side, we can use that to activate, which is nice. And then we can also sacrifice it to search for a dragon, and we're playing a whole bunch of like 1 and 2 ofs, so it gives us a little bit of a toolbox option for Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon. So I also really like it for that reason. But we're also playing 2 copies of Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. I didn't want to play full 4 copies just because of the fact that, you know, we're a 5-color deck and we're also playing Cavernous Souls and Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon. So I didn't want to play too many colorless lands, but obviously if we have Leyline in play, it's not going to be an issue. So that's why we're playing just the 2 copies of Nykthos. And then we're playing 6 basic forests in this deck just because of Bloomvine Regent. It can only grab basic forests, so we want to have a ton of basic forest in the deck, and obviously it's our spicy basic land of the day. I had to include the new forest from Tarkir Dragonstorm. I really love the entire cycle. I think the forest is my favorite, but I also really do like the mountain. But yeah, in general, I love the extended art basics from this set. I think they're some of the best that you can possibly play in the entire game. All right, so let's go and hop out of this now. Let's go and talk about the sideboard. So sideboarding is going to be relatively straightforward. Again, it's a weird sideboard because we're playing 5-color, but we're base green. It's tricky. Leyline fixes all of our problems, but we have a bunch of lands and Sylvan Curated that can help us make mana of any color. So we're playing 4 Monstrous Emergence. Again, I wanted a removal spell that's mostly green to help us cast everything. And Monstrous Emergence is going to clean up pretty much any creature because of the size of our dragons. We're also playing 2 copies of Pyroclasm. I wanted a way to deal with some early aggression, and Pyroclasm is nice because it just cleans the board up really, really nice because it deals 2 damage to each creature. We're also playing 3 copies of Pick Your Poison. It's just a fantastic sideboard card to play just in general in the deck. It's Pick Your Poison. Like, why wouldn't we play it? We're also playing 3 copies of Rest in Peace in the sideboard and 3 copies of Deafening Silence. Rest in Peace is great against all the different graveyard shenanigans that are going on in the deck, and then Deafening Silence is great against all the different Spell Slinger decks, just in general. It's perfect. I do like the sideboard. I think you can obviously, it's a 5-color deck. You can customize it depending on what your local metagame looks like, but I just wanted to play some really good hate pieces kind of just of each color in general. So the next thing we have to talk about is the tips and strategy for playing this deck, whether or not you're playing it in paper or on Arena. I just have 3 general things that I'd like to mention while playing this deck. So number 1 is prioritize the mana dorks, which is pretty straightforward, but obviously, you know, we're playing 12 mana dorks. We should be keeping a hand with a mana dork in our hand. That's really, really important. Yeah, just don't get those clunker hands where it's like 3 or 4 lands and like, oh, well, I've got these 4-drop dragons I can play on turn 4. No, make sure you have a mana dork in your opening hand. Honestly, prioritize Sylvan Curated just because of its hexproof. It's definitely very handy against all the decks that are playing like Torch the Tower and Fatal Push and such. So number 2, Leyline is mostly a combo piece for this deck. Yes, it does make mana for the Devotion, obviously, for Nykthos, so do keep that in mind. You know, prioritize hands with Leyline in the opener, but it's really just a combo piece to make sure that Call the Spirit Dragons gives us a dragons of each color. That's the main thing. Also, with Call the Spirit Dragons, I didn't mention this, it is at the beginning of your upkeep. It's not an end step thing, so do keep that in mind. You don't just like Call the Spirit Dragons like, oh, I win the game. No, it's on your upkeep, so do keep that in mind as well, but it does give the dragons indestructible. But yeah, Leyline of the Guild Pack, just keep that in mind. It's not like Mono Green Devotion where it's like 100% like we need it to operate or it's not good. Just keep that in mind. But then the third thing I've also got is don't be afraid to go aggro. We're playing all these dragons and a bunch of them have haste. Don't be afraid to get in there. Don't, you know, like I know some people are going to try to ramp and they're going to play these dragons and then, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and sit back. Like, I'm really close to Call the Spirit Dragons being able to have all the colors. No, turn them sideways. If it makes sense to attack with them, do it. Like, don't just sit back with them. I've seen a lot of people, they play these ramp decks and they play all these big, hasty, you know, creatures, and then they don't attack with them. Attack with your creatures. Get the game over with. Like, after all, we're a dragon ramp deck too. Turn the dragons sideways. Don't be afraid to get into the red zone. After all, most of them have 4 and 5 power. That's only a few hits and our opponent is out of the game. So do keep that in mind when you are playing this deck. Don't just be focusing on the Call to Spirit Dragons alternate win condition in this deck. Okay, so the last thing I have to talk about is the budget options for this deck, which I'll be honest, it's pretty tricky. It's a 5-color deck, but you can swap Call the Spirit Dragons, but the card is going down in price. I remember when I first was working on this video, and they were going for about like 35 bucks a piece, but they have significantly went down, and I do expect them to get cheaper as the set does come out, because after all, as of me recording this video, the set's been out for a day, so I think the card is going to keep going down in price. You can also swap into some cheaper dual lands like the Pain lands, the Rainbow lands, as well as the Check lands. The current list as it's constructed right now is $400 US, which is a lot because we're playing all these spicy Commander Dragons, we're playing Cavern of Souls, we're playing all these Shock lands. It's going to be pricey. But I was able to get the budget list down to only $106 US. The entire mana base that I put in the list is basically just a bunch of basic forests as well as the check lands that all synergize with green. So like Sunpetal Grove, Woodland Cemetery, Hinterland Harbor, as well as Rootbound Crag. And then I played a whole bunch of basic forests. So we have a basic forest in play. All of our lands are going to come in untapped and it's just incredibly easy. I also did swap out some of the pricier dragons, kind of like Nicol Bolas the Ravager. I put in some more budget friendly ones like I want to say Thunderbreak Regent was one that I put in there. But that's really all you can do. And honestly, this deck is very customizable. If there's specific dragons that you want to play in this deck, go ahead and put it in. There's really nothing against it. Swap one out, put one in you like that's of a similar color. But yeah, overall, this deck was so fun to make. I knew I wanted to make a 5-color dragon deck just in this format. So yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comment section. I think this deck was really, really fun to make. And yeah, let me know if there's any dragons that you would personally play that are different. You know, because again, it's 5-color dragons. We can basically play anything we want in this deck. So that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Sarwanoki, Michael D, our premium channel member, The Common Cold, and Jeremy P. If you're interested in being a channel member, it's only $1 US a month, and you get access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and hope to catch you in the next one.